This is the Module 4 Interactive Advanced Concept presentation about the elephant toothpaste experiment. So this experiment combines hydrogen peroxide, soap, and a mixture of yeast and water. So before adding the yeast and water mixture, you can fill up a vase or a bottle a little bit with hydrogen peroxide, add some dish soap. You can also add a few drops of food coloring to give the final product a nice colorful effect. And then you can add the yeast and water mixture. And once you add the yeast and water, a decomposition reaction occurs. So an enzyme in the yeast called catalase breaks down the hydrogen peroxide into oxygen and water. So as this oxygen is released, it's trying to push up and out of the container, but it gets trapped by the soapy water, all the bubbles, and so it forms that foam. So as it's trapped by the soap, it turns into this foam and it's pushing up and out of the container, which creates the colorful, foamy kind of explosion effect. So the foam is also warm to the touch, so this would suggest that it's an exothermic reaction, and the enthalpy, or delta H value, would be negative. You could also assume that the entropy of this system would be positive because the energy is more spread out and dispersed. So I actually did this experiment twice. The first time I did it, I didn't get really the reaction I was looking for. I used a vase like for flowers, and when I ended up adding the yeast and water mixture, it foamed up, but it didn't really push out of the container. And I think this was partly due to the fact that the vase had kind of a wider bottom, so it allowed it to just foam up but not really push up and out of the container. And the other factor, I think, was the fact that I used 3% hydrogen peroxide instead of 10%. I could only find 3%, and I know that the concentration of hydrogen peroxide here is pretty vital to the experiment really working, really working well. So I did it a second time. I used a glass soda bottle, and I just used a little bit more hydrogen peroxide than I had used initially. I added the dish soap, some food coloring, and then when I added the yeast and water mixture, I had a much more explosive effect. It came up and out of the bottle really well, and it was, warm foam just like the last one. All right.